Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reimagine 2021, brought to you by MouseBelt Blockchain Accelerator. I'm your co-host, Ashlie Meredith, and today we're bringing you version 9.0 of our virtual conference series, Game of Chains. We're exploring all the latest innovations in Bitcoin and Ethereum and asking, will a new chain take the throne? And if so, who will it be? I'm excited to be joined by Fawn Long. He's an assistant professor at the Department of Computer Science at University of Toronto and the founder of Conflux Network. Welcome, Fawn. How are you doing?
Great. Nice to be joined here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. So tell us some more right away about Conflux Network and how they are working to enable a secure and interoperable flow of assets and data.
Yeah, so Conflux is, I think, the first public chain that managed to get high performance, 1,000 transactions per second, and confirmations in sub-minute, and without sacrificing decentralization or security. And if you think about a lot of, I would say, scaling up the solutions, people are talking like sharding or some supernode or like elect a committee. They all actually, sacrifice a little bit of either security or like decentralization. And I think the technical wise unique part of Conflux is we managed to build and make it running the first chain that managed to hit the 1,000 transactions per second and fast confirmation without sacrificing those. And we are keeping the original idea of the permissionless blockchain where people can join and live at any time, and people use POW, can use POW to contribute to the chain security, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's a unique technical part of the Conflux. And well, we are also, I would say, the only state-endorsed blockchain in public blockchain in China, where we receive, I would say, government research grant to do our research, I would say, our public chain development. And that's, I would say, the non-technical aspects of Conflux, if you want to know, like what is Conflux and what's I think unique about it.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So two things to know about Conflux. One, you have, this unique proof of work system that is able to stay decentralized, but also scale, and the only state-sponsored blockchain in China. And we'll get more into that later. But I think for the people who are just tuning in, anyone who's just joining us at Reimagine 2021, I suggest you go to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, see all the great interviews that we're doing with blockchain leaders all over the world. Last month, we did a NFT event, and I think there's just a lot of newcomers coming to the space who may not be familiar with some of these problems you're describing and what makes Conflux so unique. So, for example, Bitcoin is very, very secure because it's very decentralized. And but unfortunately, by being so decentralized and requiring the type of consensus that it does, makes it very hard to scale, right? You can't have very fast transactions on it. So maybe to the layperson who's tuning in, maybe you can explain a little bit more about what proof of work is and what these issues of scalability, decentralizations are, and why they're important.
Yes, I think the central part of like recent blockchain debate is how to make blockchain scale and how to make blockchain, I would say, meets the needs of the increasing demand of the blockchain systems. The reason why why Bitcoin or Ethereum is not scalable is because it uses the straightforward, I would say, consensus algorithm where we, agree on the longest chain or heaviest chain, and then the transactions on the chain of the blocks becomes transaction history, and everyone just agree on that transaction history. And it implies that, okay, well, everyone needs to agree on this chain. And if there's a fork, then something will be wasted. And also there are forks will also make the chain unstable and make the chain less secure. So that is why Bitcoin or Ethereum have to operate with relatively slow block generation throughput. I mean, either the block has to be small, or the block generation rate has to be slow, right? So Bitcoin is like 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, one block, 1 megabyte block. And the fee for Ethereum is controlled by gas, but usually the size would be 50K to 100K block, and every 15 seconds. But well, if you look at a transaction, right? Transaction needs to, even simple payment transaction, simple value transfer transaction, you need to have certain informations like who is the sender, who's the receiver, the amount, the signature, timestamp, those kind of information you cannot omit, right? Otherwise, it's not a transaction anymore. And those information together would need to occupy at least, I would say, roughly 200 or 250 bytes in Bitcoin, Ethereum, a little bit less, like 150 bytes. But I mean, you can do the math and then figure out that those kind of bytes, the amount of bytes per transaction required, given the total amount of space that the block has and the slow block generation throughput, you'll realize, okay, Bitcoin can only sustain like maximum 7 transactions per second, and then Ethereum a little bit more, but it would be certainly less than 30 transactions per second. And if you do smart contract, it would be way less. So that's why scalability problem exists. It is a problem because it just makes everything more expensive of using those blockchain platform, right? When there is an increasing demand and the supply is limited, then basically people are beating up, right? And that's why you're seeing, very high transaction fees on Ethereum, right? While just in the last month, sometimes you will see, well, maybe you have to pay $50 or even $100 for even transfer like stablecoin tokens across. And that is more expensive than wiring, right? It's like we started accusing the banks, they are slow, they're expensive, they're inefficient, but then we end up with a system that is more expensive than doing bank wiring. So that's why we really want to solve this problem.
Absolutely. So how exactly is Conflux solving that problem? What is the transaction rate? What are some of those big numbers that you can share that are impressive about the product that you've built?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the way that Conflux solves this problem is we change the structure of the blockchain, or it's no longer a chain. We call it a tree graph structure. So basically, it's a direct acyclic graph, the DAG, with a tree embedded inside the DAG. And with our new consensus algorithm that built on this tree graph structure, we can accommodate concurrent blocks, so that concurrent blocks no longer threaten the security of the chain, and the transactions included in these concurrent blocks no longer be wasted. It will be merged into the total order that is confirmed, so that every block will contribute to the throughput. And because forks or concurrent blocks no longer causing trouble to the security, we can afford to increase the block generation throughput to a speed that will bring the high performance to the overall system. So with our consensus algorithm and also the end-to-end I would say, re-implementation on a lot of different layers of the system. I mean, consensus algorithms is one part, it's a bottleneck, but well, in order to reach the high performance we desire, we'll also re-implement the, I was redesign and implement the storage layer, how we store the blockchain state, and also the network layer, etc. So it's a new consensus algorithm plus, I would say, end-to-end re-implementation of a lot of different layers of blockchain. We managed to hit, I would say, for simple payment, more than 3,000 transactions per second. And if you're doing smart contract payments, a smart contract transaction, you can also easily hit more than 1,000 transactions per second. And the confirmation you need to wait is sub-minute. On average, I would say less than half a minute. So that's the performance number we managed to hit.
Excellent. Congratulations. So for people who aren't super technical, kind of trying to understand what the difference between a typical blockchain or a tree branch structure might be a little difficult. But I think the main thing that consumers need to know is how is this going to benefit them, which is you have achieved 30,000 transactions per second, 1,000 transactions smart contracts per second, and a wait time, transaction time of on average less than 30 seconds. So that's excellent to hear. For anyone who wants to learn more about the science behind this and all the research you've done to build this chain, where can they find the white paper? Where can they find some of your research?
Yeah, well, our papers are actually online on archive, and also they are, well, we also have technical papers linking our website. So if you can go to confluxnetwork.org and go to developer resources, technical white papers, there are a lot of technical documents about how this actually works. And yeah, we would love to more people to download those and learn the fascinating techniques behind Conflux.
Absolutely. So encourage everyone to go check those out if reading that kind of stuff is your jam. Speaking of, all the research that went into developing this chain, you are a professor and have been working in conjunction with a lot of universities. I saw, on the website, you're partnered with multiple universities, government agencies. Can you talk a little bit more about, being the only state-sponsored permissionless blockchain in China and some of the support you've gotten from the government and universities?
Yeah, I mean, well, I actually joined the blockchain space from academia, and well, the reason why started the Conflux with the group of co-founders, and it's because we first just I think at the end of 2017, early 2018, we gathered in an event, and then, well, we were talking about just the scalability problem is a very interesting research problem, and I come from a background of doing system security research and programming languages and also distributed systems. Those are very related blockchain area, or it's like it's part of blockchain. I mean, blockchain is the intersection of systems, programming languages, and cryptography. So yeah, a group of people saying, okay, let's do research together, and we have this initial idea of, well, why not we can change the blockchain structure a little bit and to scale it up. So it first starts as a research project, and then once we have some initial research result, and that was actually the last, that was actually the last ICO height, peak, right? So, and that's
Right.
why, well, there's investors come and then say, let's not try to, make this stay as a just a research paper, make it a real project. And then that's why we started Conflux. And yeah,
did you think at the time that you might want to do an ICO and launch a token to raise money for your project?
No, actually, Conflux never, I think, launched ICO, and it's not saying. Well, it's not. It's because we decide to stay within the regulatory lines that the government drawn, and most of the team members are, I would say, top scientists and engineers based in China, and we want to stay regulatory compliant, and there are rules saying that ICOs are not legal in China. So that's the reason that Conflux only raised, I think, monies for the project. Conflux only raised the monies from the private investors to build this one. It's not because we don't want. It's just we want to stay with regulatory compliant. I think back to the topic of being the only, I would say, being the only state endorsed blockchain. There is a lot of, I think, misconception about like Chinese government would never, support any permissionless or public chain, and they in fact, I think it's like Chinese government are really looking for ways to invest in blockchain technology. And there are, for example, 2019's political bureau meetings where those top leaders studying blockchain and they say, we need to invest in blockchain technology. And the Chinese government have been emphasizing multiple times that we want to invest in blockchain technology. But on the other hand, I think Chinese government are very cautious about the stability of the financial system and also the volatility of the crypto market, and they wanted to avoid causing the crypto market or those causing problem, and that's why sometimes you see, there are announcements from Chinese government saying, we don't like the speculation, and let's cool it down, and let's try to not stop the leveraging product. That's recently, for example, Huobi or OKEX exchanges. They closed their leverage product to Chinese citizens. So it's this is parts that Chinese government are saying that they don't like, right? But there are so from if you think about the public chain part, I think the part that's tricky about public chain is there are always probably a native token behind the public chain, otherwise it will not be a public chain. And also another fact is most of the, I would say, all the teams who are doing, I would say, public chain in China either did some sorts of ICO, some kind of pump and dump, those kinds of activities which are not very, I would say, not staying within the regulatory line, or like there are parts that government would not like and don't trust. So the reason why we are being the only one so far endorsed or by the Chinese government is because we are, since starting from the start, we always believe that in order for the current blockchain to move on to the next stage, we have to stay regulatory compliant. We have to at least talk. If you think of blockchain as a new world, right? Being the citizen in the new world does not mean that you have to hate the old world. Probably for the new world to advance, you have to talk with the old world, and we always try to stay communicated, having a reliable communication channel with the old world, and then stay regulatory compliant, because we sincerely believe that's what we need to move this whole space to the next stage, right? If it's like we have to bring new kinds of applications, something that is meaningful for the real world, for the old world, into this new space. And we should go beyond, pure speculations and leverage speculations, right? So that's a because we are doing this, we stay within the regular compliant part from day one. We have to keep executing the strategy, and also because the team behind the Conflux are really the top scientists and engineers in China, and it's a group of people that naturally, I would say, probably the government can trust a little bit more. That's why we are so far having this, I would say, status being the only one. Yeah, it shows that it's not like impossible to for Chinese government to support and public chain. It's just probably all the team never tried, right? They never care. And
yeah, so you kind of addressed some of the misconceptions maybe around blockchain adoption in China. And I think the things that you said make a lot of sense. And I think you see the same thing in the US. Of course, government agencies are going to warn against crypto for the average consumer because of all the speculation that takes place, because of all of the price fluctuations, because of things like ICO scams. They have a duty to protect their constituents and say be wary of cryptocurrency. But that doesn't mean that the US is not investing in blockchain technology and researching it and funding research grants for a lot of different projects. And I think you're totally right in saying that the kind of blockchain adoption that people imagine in their heads, where everybody has a crypto wallet and people are able to transact large amounts of values across border, and really find this financial freedom and make money off of their own money and stop giving it all to the banks. It's not going to happen without kind of taking the hand of the old world into the new world, right?
Yeah.
Any other, just for, our audience who's tuning in from all over the world, who's trying to learn more about crypto? I know I have friends who come from journalism and they are most excited to hear about, things that are happening in other countries and what's going on with regulation and things like that. Just any other insights about blockchain adoption in China? Do you think that a lot of people know what blockchain is now? Is it, when you go to meet friends, do they still say like, what are you talking about?
I think the fact is, most people know the word of blockchain, but when you say it, then their reaction is, okay, wow, you're from blockchain. Then tell me, can I buy Bitcoin today? And whether it will go up and down tomorrow? You see, here's the problem. I mean, it's a problem, in a lot of places, but also in China, which is, on one hand, you have a, blockchain practitioner or like, people maybe they also participate with the speculative market, but at least we stay here because we believe blockchain technology will greatly impact and change how the world functions in the future, right? Change all sorts of area and revolutionarily, change like supply chain, change the finance industry, etc. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people, treating it as Las Vegas, right? And then say, oh, yeah, and then can buy it, and then that's actually what I call it. There's a lot of social gap, and the area as a whole, the field as a whole, need to overcome. Something special about China is, because of I would say because of the political bureau meeting at the end of 2019. There's a lot of like political drive inside China in different cities where government want to show that they care about the blockchain. they are trying the blockchain technology. They're following President Xi's command of trying something about blockchain. So this creates a lot of demand about the blockchain. And this blockchain is the demand of this world sometimes rather than the technology. That's the observation behind, right? So it's not saying it's a bad thing, but because I mean the real adoption for blockchain maybe it's disruptive, right? Because suddenly if the management system in your government is a blockchain, then that means it has to change how the current way works. It's more maybe in the end it's more balanced, more transparent, and everything will be better, but the process will be painful and may affect someone's interest, right? They may lose some power, or they may no longer can do things behind the box and behind the door. So that you see that so this dynamic actually creates, I think, one thing is that there are a lot of need of the word of blockchain, but maybe not the real blockchain technology. So you see a lot of things like alliance chain or private chain or those kind of I mean, if you take the blockchain technology, I mean alliance chain, maybe you can count it as a blockchain or some sorts of consortium chain, but sometimes they even just take it to the extreme of private chain, or just okay, we have a 4 node, and those 4 nodes are put in the single room. This makes no sense, right? It's so makes sense. Okay, but this is what I mean. A lot of I mean, it's getting better, but I think that's there's a lot of need of blockchain technology. But on the other hand, people are in China are they're trying to adopt, but it's like they're not fully prepared to embrace it. So they're kind of, embracing the world, not embracing the techniques. So that's one interesting phenomena in China. And it's not saying it's bad, right? I mean, I would say that the first step is you have to embrace the word of blockchain. Then maybe you will move more forward, and the more people know what the blockchain technology is, and then say, oh, we should get a real blockchain, not this fake one. And and we see things are moving forward in this direction. So one observation in China is because there is need of blockchain technology. I'm just saying that because this is kind of political mandate from central government. There's a lot of a need of a blockchain, just this tag or this word, and there are a lot of, I would say, semi-blockchains being deployed on different cities, and the real blockchain, will say the public chain adoptions is still slow. I think recently we've seen a lot of requests of our technology because maybe we are the only one right now indoors. In the past, people are stay a little bit far away from public chain, apply to the real area, because either public chains are just too costly, you can't do it, or because they are not really ready to embrace a true blockchain, or it's because they don't want to deal with the crypto asset that always would be sitting behind the public chain. But I think the change is there are changes underway that is, I'm gonna say, keep moving forward. So that's one interesting thing I think a lot of people know is sometimes you hear the word of blockchain in China does not, maybe if you take a closer look, may not be meaning the blockchain that in the West.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like blockchain has become this buzzword because the government has said we need to invest more in it. And so everyone's throwing that word around. But they still have some of these problems like we talked about at the beginning of the segment, where they aren't fully decentralized, or they have some security issues, or which Conflux is trying to solve with the public chain. And then also you said, I think anyone in blockchain has this experience where the social gap of knowledge is that most of the people who are talking about blockchain or cryptocurrency are asking you, should I buy Bitcoin? Will the price go up? And so I think the goal is to educate them on the benefits of blockchain and crypto, how this can actually help their lives, or products that they might actually use. And I think the big thing that is on everybody's mind now, we did a virtual conference series last year. So anyone just tuning in, we're doing REIMAGINE 2021 right now, the virtual blockchain conference series. We've got a YouTube channel. Go over there, hit the subscribe button, check out our version. 3.0 was what the fi is DeFi. And so speaking of, products and applications that actually benefit people, that isn't just speculation, what are some of the things being built on Conflux right now? I see that you have some interesting DeFi applications. Tell us some more about that.
Yes, I think there are two kinds of applications that happening in Conflux Network. So one kind of application is, we call it Ethereum spillover. Basically, it's like Ethereum is too expensive, and there are, there are applications like in Ethereum that people. I mean, there are people realize that they can't afford, right? They simply can't afford to use Ethereum, and so they are moving to cheaper chains or more advanced, like in terms of technique or TPS, more advanced chains, and that's also includes Conflux. So we have those kind of Ethereum spillover type of applications, which is DeFi. We have DeFi applications there, and we have also stable coins there, and those kind of I would say application. We also build I would say cross-chain bridges, shuttle flow, which is very convenient to cross different chains. So shuttle flow connect Conflux to different chains, and there are also projects which are using Conflux as hub, where to hopping between chains, right? I mean, where Conflux is actually a transition chain. So that's one. So one direction that a lot of applications on Conflux are going is this kind of Ethereum spillover types of applications. Then another emerging type, which is more exciting, is there are starting to have applications that exploiting new things and exploiting applications that are more connected to the real world, right? We have people developing, developing the supply chain management applications for specific areas in China, and they want to use Conflux as an infrastructure. Or we are collaborating with I think Shanghai Construction Association, and then they're saying they want to use Conflux. They're working on using Conflux as a platform for managing the building's life cycle, right? So you build a building, and then you want to maybe make its design document, put it on blockchain, and certify that, so that maybe in future, if there's a maintenance problem with the building, or even unfortunately the building collapse, you can figure out who is responsible for what. I mean, it's a very interesting applications, and it fits well for the public chain. There are also, I think we're talking with the government, and there's a project of managing the renting information in Shanghai. We put it on the Conflux chain just to manage it. It will be encrypted, but we will put those information, use use Conflux to generate certificates, so that those information are certified, so people cannot manipulate those kind of information. The reason is I think last year there are, kind of scandals in the renting market, where the renting platforms actually takes renters' money, but they do not get send it to the landlord, so it causes a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
social problem. Yeah, there are such scandals. The internet renting platform, they take, so it's like they charge renters like 1 year upfront and give renters some discount, but in the end they give landlord like a monthly basis, and then they use this the money they charge to expand their business, but then the money, their chain collapses, and then it causes a social problem of renter says I
Wow.
paid, and then landlord says, oh, I don't receive the money, and then company goes bankrupt. But there's a lot of it
Yeah.
causes a social problem, right? And so government are thinking, okay, we can use the blockchain to figure out who is renting what, and then and who actually receive, whether you receive payment, and eliminate this renting platforms room for this kind of manipulation, because this
Right.
is really disruptive, right? So yeah, so that's another application. So we believe those are more exciting, because we always believe that in order for the blockchain space to move to the next stage, we have to use blockchain technology to apply to something that matters to ordinary citizens. Otherwise, everyone, if you talk about blockchain, all the people will still keep saying, okay, whether Bitcoin, I can buy Bitcoin. So they always will still thinking like a blockchain is just equals crypto asset and equals to speculation, and that's bad.
Yeah.
And even for example, the NFT domain, Conflux is investing a lot on the NFT domain, and there are a lot of new NFT startup building on Conflux, but we are moving on the different direction as most of current NFT. The NFTs on Ethereum are focusing heavily on art and the collection, like expensive collectibles, right? Where there's artists and generate a digital pen, digital art, and then they sell it with massive amount of dollar signs, and then people catch its eye. Oh, that's so cool. But I always believe that's one part of how NFT could go. And where we are going is we are inviting project where they would take, like existing IP, like maybe the like the IPs from games, from those, then generate digital collectibles, but it's not for it's not form of art where each single ones will sell it for like millions of dollars. Instead, it's collectibles for for ordinary people, for even just normal people that surfing the internet. If they're interested in the IP, interested in the game behind it, then they can collect this, and we can use the digital aspect of those collectibles to create kind of rules, like they can be combined to forming new ones. And so it's like treating the Conflux as a platform rather than as a way of payment, and then do this would require the underlying chain to have much more, I would say, performance, because you will issue more, and then each one will be less in terms of the value. That means you cannot afford people to pay 100K, sorry, $100 to to generate this NFT, right? If So that's why I think this kind of would be very suited to use Conflux, and that's a lot of people are doing. So yeah, so basically I would summarize the second direction is we're using our unique positions in China and encouraging new kinds of applications coming to the blockchain world, utilizing the low fee, low transaction fee aspect of Conflux. And I really hope some of those applications would go to, go to have impact and changes how ordinary citizens, how ordinary citizens' life would be. And that would be something really valuable for the blockchain world. I mean, because that means that more people would know, oh, blockchain, it's not just for speculation. It can actually help help something in my life, right? That would be really rewarding.
Absolutely. So, two of the big directions that Conflux is going, Ethereum spillover. Ethereum is too expensive, so people are looking for new ways to do these swaps and different kinds of DeFi projects, building on Conflux, as well as some government and other pilots, supply chain, real world things that people need to use in their everyday life, certificates for rental properties on the blockchain. That all sounds super exciting. So before I wrap this up and get some of your thoughts about, our theme and what the, this third generation of blockchains are, you're an academic. I was a philosophy professor before moving to the blockchain space and run our MouseBelt University program. We've reached 100 schools in 24 countries, and I talk to students all the time. So I always like to ask my interviewers, tell us a little bit more about your background. I know you were a competitive computer programmer. How did you get to where you are today? How did you get into blockchain? And do you have any advice for students who maybe have a similar background and are looking to do the same?
Yeah, and I get into blockchain, I think, through my research, actually. I mean, I'm at my research area before blockchain becomes a thing. I mean, my research area was, distributed systems, system securities, programming languages those are areas that are closely related to blockchain. And that drives me naturally. I mean, that's just a drive. That means that blockchain technology have a natural attraction to me, right? And I decided to invest more on blockchain because I realized, first of all, blockchain is technology that will significantly change how the society functions. I truly believe that. And because blockchain in the end is a technology that can generate trust between two parties that never met. And this is so powerful because the human society is built on trust, right? And if you have a new way to, or I would say more convenient way to generate trust, you will change how the society functions. And that's the first one. I truly believe this direction of technology is revolutionary, and I want to be part of it. And the second is, I realized that by the time that I'm 2017, there are a lot of problems in the blockchain space. I feel I can do something about it, right? Through my, my background, my technical capabilities, my talent, I can change or affect how this technology go in future, and that makes me feel like I can make some impact, and that's what drives me to to do more research on this, and then step and step, and then say, let's just create a public chain project, and that's how I went into this. And I would say my suggestion to a lot of especially computer science students or like graduates, I would say that blockchain is a very rewarding new area. Is like if you are the adventurous type of person, you definitely should look into this. And especially your background probably is similar to where I'm, like you're doing systems or like securities. And yeah, so you definitely need to take a look about what's happening in this area, because there are a lot of exciting things going on here.
Awesome. Yeah, great advice. I think also you kind of gave a testimonial of why you should get involved in this space, that it's been very rewarding for you. So thanks for sharing that with all of our students tuning in. And just to remind everybody, we're here with Reimagine 2021, the virtual blockchain conference series brought to you by MouseBelt, and this is version 9, and our theme is Game of Chains. So BTC, ETH has come under fire lately. It's too expensive. The transactions are too long. Gas fees are too high. It's bad for the environment. And so I think people are wondering, who's going to be the next king on the throne of blockchain. So just wanted to wrap up this interview and get some of your thoughts about what are your opinions? What do you think the future holds for, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and what are the projects or the new chains besides Conflux that you're most excited about or that you've been following?
Oh, so I think the areas that I'm very interested, which I think eventually I will try to persuade the Conflux team to invest in that direction as well, is how to combine the blockchain technology with zero knowledge proof techniques. And it's always fascinating to see a lot of brilliant people manage to make this sophisticated technology, which was still, I would say, considered too expensive to apply, gradually they make it, shape it, and make it, I would say, cheaper or more practical. And I think it's very close. I think now in the next 1 or 2 years, we will see probably, smart contract built with some degree of zero knowledge proof, and zero knowledge proof can enable more things. It's always fascinating to see, these lines of research. So I'm naturally interested in a lot of those projects that help to make progress in that direction. That's the one that I like most, I think, besides Conflux, of course.
Yeah. So you're kind of looking at any chains that are starting to utilize zero knowledge proofs. Any that stick out in your mind?
Well, there
particular?
are several L2 solutions. Trying to build on Ethereum to do that. And yeah, I'm closely follow all of those. And also, I think there are projects or DeFi projects like trying to use zero knowledge techniques to, protect some of DeFi transactions, and that is heavily needed given the current status of the Ethereum chain. Basically, whenever you send a large transaction, the hackers, the miners will just try to front run you with a front run transaction, the MEV, all sorts of things. So yeah, that's it is driven by the need, but also it's fascinating to see that those techniques are gradually being more practical. And I believe, like, within 1 or 2 years we will see such techniques becomes mainstream, right? Becomes saying people are just keep using that. But of course, before that, probably Ethereum need to, if in the end it stays with Ethereum, then Ethereum needs to figure out how to reduce the cost, because well, no matter how much practically made, it will means more computations, and the current transaction fees is already crazy, and probably people won't be able to apply techniques that make it 3x or 4x.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think anyone tuning in should, if they're interested, go look more into some of these layer 2 solutions and these projects that are implementing zero knowledge proofs, et cetera. Thank you so much, Fawn, for joining us one last time. For anyone tuning in, where can they find more about you, your work, or Conflux?
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in Conflux, then please go to confluxnetwork.org, and that's where you can find all the materials about Conflux. And I want to say that, I mean, another thing that most of people are, I mean, I find is fascinating is the kind of project that is expanding the horizon of the blockchain area, like the projects that expand the blockchain to new application domains, like while beyond the speculation, beyond the current like hype of DeFi, how you apply blockchain technology to something in the old world, affect how old world functions, right? Let's affect the real world functions. And I believe those kind of applications are the future, and that's how we need to look for, because only after we can make progress in those areas, the field as whole can move forward.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. And thank you everyone for tuning in. We've been speaking with Fawn Long. He's the founder of Conflux Network. Stay tuned, everybody, for more from Reimagine 2021.